to From the SheShed France. I'm Zena, and today I'm back in the SheShed. I've been out of it for a few weeks because we've had people staying, but today I'm back in the shed and I'm going to be recording today a video demonstrating how to make this type of granny square, where you start with a circle in the middle and it becomes a square as you go on. It was something that I showed that I'd been using in a project, and a couple of you have said that you'd be interested in that. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. Just a quick bit to start you off. This is going to be a step-by-step demonstration, but it will assume that you know some basics of crochet. If you don't and you want more information on how to do the basics of crochet, let me know. Put some information in the feedback box below and I'll respond to it, and then I'll see whether or not I can do some videos in the future. One of the things that you need to be aware of is that I use American terminology. I know I'm British, but actually to me the American terminology makes much more sense. So I'm going to be starting in just a moment. What you'll see is I've got some balls of yarn. These actually I picked up in a charity shop. There obviously used to be a series called The Art of Crochet, and these came all with a free ball of yarn each time. So I bought the magazines, there's some useful patterns, but it was more that I bought it for the yarn. So I have some yarn which is about double knit stroke worsted weight, depending where in the world you're from. I've got a 5mm hook today. Now that's normally a bit big for this size of yarn, but it's partly because I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. I've got some darning needles that you'll need to sew in your ends, and obviously I've got the obligatory pair of scissors. Not really much more to say at this stage, so I think we'll get straight on with it. So this granny square, we start by using the magic circle. If you're not confident with the magic circle, you can make a chain of 4 and stitch them together and start from there. But I think once you've mastered the magic circle, you won't want to go back. So when I do it, I put the yarn over my 2 fingers here and trap it with my thumb, drop it down behind, come over the bottom, and then as I go back over the top, I cross it over. So I've got a cross on my fingers. Then I go under with my hook, over, pull it through and make a twist. Now I pull it off my fingers, clutching it between my thumb and forefinger at the same time. Pull it down a bit so you can hold it in place and chain up 3. This chain of 3 is the equivalent of your first double crochet, and you need the equivalent of 10 double crochets going into your magic ring. So now I've just done my first actual double crochet. So for the double crochet we go yarn over, through the loop, yarn over, and then pull through 2 and pull through 2. So I've now got 3 double crochets in my magic circle. I'm going to keep going. So that's another one. That's my 4th. Yarn over into my magic circle, pick up the yarn, 3 loops on my hook, pull through 2, pull through 2, up 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now at this stage I tend to adjust the magic circle a bit, so I pull the tail so that actually I've got a bit more control and I don't need to worry so much about it falling apart, which it won't do at this stage. So yarn over, into the loop, pick up, 3 chains on my hook, 3 loops on my hook even, pull through 2, pull through 2, I'm up to 6. Oops. 7. Again, remember, keep your yarn to your left. When you're crocheting, it's normal that your yarn is on the left hand side of you, and don't be afraid to keep stopping and pulling more out, because it's much easier if you've got some free yarn than if you are pulling at your yarn. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 3 more to go. So yarn over, through the loop, pick up 3 loops on my hook, through 2, that's 8, yarn over, in the loop, pick up the yarn, 3 loops on my hook, through 2, that's 9, and once more gives me 10. Now at this stage I'm going to pull my tail nice and tight to close the circle. I'm going to leave that tail to the back, and I am going to slip stitch into the top of my chain 3 here, and this will create the start of my circle. Always helps if you go to the right part of your stitch. There you go, I've gone through the stitch now, pull through, and there we go, we have closed the circle. So now we're going to start the first actual round, and we've got 10 stitches, and by the end of this round we're going to have 20. Now we've slip stitched into our first stitch there, and in each of our stitches around we are going to create 2 to make 20. But what we start with is a chain of 3, which counts as a double crochet. So I've chained up 3. Now what I tend to do at this stage is not what a lot of people recommend, but I do put my first stitch here down into there. It just solidifies the circle and it stops it pulling out so easily. So now I've got 2 double crochets in my first stitch, and I'm going to do 2 double crochets, 1, 2 in the next stitch, 2 double crochets in the next stitch. As you can see, my yarn's got a bit tight. I need to unravel my yarn again. Don't be afraid to stop and do this. It's really important. Take your time and get it right. It's much better that you've got it right. So second stitch in there. Now 2 in the next stitch. 1, 2, 2 in the next one, 1, 2. What you can do now is pause the video and continue putting 2 stitches in each stitch. You can see your stitches really clearly, particularly if you just turn your circle slightly. So you're going under those 2 loops each time, she says, missing, going under those 2 loops each time to create your 2 stitches. So do pause the video and catch me up when you've got back to the beginning of your circle. So I have done my 20 stitches all the way around the circle. Don't worry if your circle is curling a bit at this stage. It tends to, and when you finally finished your square and you get to block it, it will flatten out, I promise you. So I've done my 20, and now what I'm going to do is slip stitch again. So I'm going to the top of that first chain and I'm pulling the yarn through to close my circle. Now, the next round, which is round 2, we are going to create 30 stitches, and the way in which we're going to do that is we're going to do a pattern of 2 stitches, 2 double crochets into 1 stitch and 1 double crochet in the next stitch. 2 double crochets in 1 stitch, 1 double crochet in the next. So it's a pattern of repeating pattern of 3. But again, we're going to start it by chaining up 3, 1, 2, 3. That's the equivalent of your first double crochet. Again, I'm going to go just into that part of the stitch on this occasion, just to firm up my circle. I do like to have it nice and firm at this stage. So I've got a 2 in that one, and now I'm going to do 1 in the next, 2 in the next, so 1, 2. All of this I will write in the description box below, so that you can actually have a look at this. I've done 2, so this is a single one. and then 2, 2, another single, another 2, oh, where have I got to? 2, and a single. I'm going to stop here for a moment. I'm going to let you pause the video and catch me back up when you've got back to the beginning, and you'll be ending with 1 single crochet in that last stitch. So I've done my last 2 into 1 stitch, and I'm left with 1 stitch in which I'm going to put 1 double crochet. 1, 2, there you go. So I've got my 1 double crochet there, and again I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the previous chain 3. So I've done that, and I've closed the circle, and now I'm going to start round 3. Now this is the last round where it's a circle. After this we're going to be turning it into a square. Now this round, what we're going to do is we're going to do 2 double crochets and then in 1 stitch, and then we're going to do 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So you've got a repeating pattern of 4. So you have 2 in 1, 1, 2, 2 in 1, 1, 2, all the way round, and at the end of the round you will have made 40 stitches. So let's get started. So you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. That's our double crochet done. I'm not going to go right down in this time. I'm just going to go just a bit further down into the stitch, just so that it's nice and firm. So there's my 2 double crochet in the first stitch. Now I've got a double crochet to go in the next stitch and a double crochet to go in the next stitch, and then the next one we're back to doing 2. Double crochet, double crochet, 2, and then 2 on their own, 1, 2. So we're getting this repeating pattern of 4. 2 double crochets in 1 stitch, 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches. So we start the pattern again. So we're doing 2 in this next stitch, 1, 2, and then 2 double crochets in the next 2 stitches. Do it once more, and then I'll let you finish the round on your own. So in the next stitch, 2 double crochets, 1, 2, need a bit more yarn, whoops, disappearing off the table, and then in the next 2 stitches a single double crochet. So 1 and 2. So pause the video there and catch me up when you've got to the end, and you will be finishing your last 2 stitches will be double crochets into each of those 2 last stitches. Now I've actually reached the end of my row and round, and I have slip stitched into that first chain 3. And because I want to make it clear to you where is the circle and where is the square, I'm going to change colours at this stage. Now you don't need to do that, as you can see from the square that I showed you earlier. I certainly haven't done that on other squares that I've done. So I've slip stitched together. I'm literally going to snip my yarn there and pull through. Now there are many ways in which you can join yarn, and one of the most simple is literally to tie it on, and actually that's what I'm going to do on this occasion. It won't be a problem, it won't cause a big bulk in your square, it certainly won't on mine. And what you can do then is, as you go, if you want to, you can actually deal with your ends. But that probably isn't for this video. So I'm going to just pull my yarn through there, tie it on like so, to that side as well. And then I'm going to make my chain of 3. So we're now going to be starting to make the square. And each round we are going to be chaining up 3 at the beginning of the round, as we have to before, to create a double crochet. Now, in this first stitch, I'm going to create my first corner. So my corner is made by making 2 double crochets. So my chain 3 counted as the first one. Here is my second. I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. I'm going to make 2 double crochets. 1. That's my first one. Here's my second one. And now I'm going to start the side of my square. So let me just pull out some yarn. Got a bit tangled here. And so in the next stitch I make 1 double crochet. Now you can see that I've got the yarn tails sitting in there. Don't worry, they just tidy away that way, and once I go a bit further down the side I'll probably snip them off. So I've made 1 double crochet. In the next stitch I'm making a half double crochet. So I've gone through, I've yarned over, I've got 3 loops on my hook in the normal way, and instead of pulling through 2 and then 2, you pull through all 3 at once. Half double crochet made. Now I'm going to do 5 single crochets in the next 5 stitches. So 1, 2, will be 2, my tail's getting in the way, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to do a half double crochet, so I yarn over, go through 3 loops on my hook, pull through all 3. I'm going to do a double crochet in the next stitch, double crochet, and now I'm about to make my next corner. So the corner is made by 2 double crochets, so 1, 2, chain 2, 1, 2, 2 double crochets, 1, 2. So my next corner has been made. Now I'm going to create my next side. Sorry, I'm just going to pull a bit more yarn out. This yarn ball is proving a little challenging, shall we say. Let's get plenty of yarn out and then I can do the next side. So we start with 1 double crochet, 1 half double crochet through all 3. It's 5 singles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A half double crochet, a double crochet, and we're at the next corner. I'm going to do this next corner, and then after that I'm going to suggest you pause the video and meet me at the end. But first off, I'll do the next corner for you. So a corner is 2 double crochets. There's my first, here's my second, all in the same stitch, remember. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 1, 2, and then 2 double crochets, 1, 2, back in the next stitch. Sorry, in the same stitch. And then along the side you're going to do a double crochet, a half double crochet, 5 singles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to do a half double crochet, a double crochet, and there will be your corner. In fact, pause the video and I'll meet you at that corner so I can show you the final side. As you can see, I've now done my 3rd corner. So what I'm left with now is the final side, and here you can see I've counted it out and I've double checked already. I have the right number of stitches, so I'm going to have double, half double, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 singles, and then a half double and a double. So I'm just going to do that. You can either pause or you can watch me do it, because I shall actually just do that. So double, half double, 5 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, half double. I'll do that one again, so I'll drop the yarn, half double, and a double. Now, having reached this point, what I'm going to do now is slip stitch into the top of my chain 3 there, from the beginning of the round. So there we go, we slip stitch there. Now, the best way to work this from now on is each time you reach the corner, when you do that, when you put it back together, is to slip stitch across to the corner. So we're just going to literally slip stitch there. I'm going to slip stitch into there, and then I'm going to chain my 3, 1, 2, 3, and from now on I'm using double crochets only. And I'm going to do a second double crochet here, because the corner is always the same. It's 2 double crochets, it's chain 2, 1, 2, 2 double crochets, 1, 2, and then we're going to do our double crochets down the side. Now, you need to look carefully at this point, because this stitch here is your first stitch that you need to go into. So make sure that you're using that stitch. So we go into that to make our first double crochet, and we're going to we're going to double crochet all the way to the corner. So I'm going to double crochet along, and then I'm going to count my stitches to just show you, because at the end of the previous round each side would have been made up of 13 stitches and a chain 2 space in the corner, and each round now we increase 4 stitches. So each side this round will have 17 double crochets, which you'll see when I get to my corner in just a moment. So you're double crocheting into all the stitches that were previously there in the row below, and then there we go, that's the last one from the row below. And now we're doing 2 doubles, 1, whoops, 2, and we're chaining 2, 1, 2, before we go and start the next side. Now, what I want to just point out is that I'm going to count these stitches. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 stitches. So I've done my chain 2. I'm just going to pull a bit more yarn off my ball here because it's being awkward. Chain 2. Do my 2 double crochets into the space, because you do the 2 in the corner on both sides to create your corner. So your corner has been created with 2 double, chain 2, do double, and now you're going into that first crochet, first stitch here. Do look carefully. It is that stitch that's a bit hidden as you come round the corner, but that is your first stitch. Whoops, she says, dropping the stitch. There you go. There you go, 1 double crochet into that stitch. So that's your third stitch for this side. So there's number 4, number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and then into the corner space you're doing number 16 and number 17, and then you're going to, whoops, it helps if you don't drop your stitch, 17, and then you're going to chain 2 and do the next side. What I suggest you do is pause the video, you can always rewind it, and do the next bit and meet me back at the beginning. So I'm now back at the end of my 4th side. If you've been diligently counting your stitches, you'll get to this point and you might be slightly panicked, because as you're going into the last stitch here, that's number 15, not number 17. But what you will find is that you have created 16 and 17 when you started this particular round. So you then slip stitch into the top of the chain 3, slip stitch into the next stitch, this is taking you across, and then slip stitch into your corner space. You've now finished round 5 and you're ready to start round 6. And from now on, every round is simply the same as round 5, except that you have 4 extra stitches. So I'm going to do a round 6 for you, and then I'm going to finish my square at that point. So I'm going to chain up 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to make another double crochet, 2. I'm going to chain 2, 1, 2. I'm going to do 2 double crochets, 1, 2, and I've created, no I haven't, let's redo that stitch, 1, there we go, 2, and I have created my first corner. Now remember, you're going into the top of that stitch there. So that's my 3rd stitch on this row. At the end of this row, I will have 21 double crochets before the chain 2 space. So I'm at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then into the corner space I do my next 2, so that's 20 and 21, and then I'm going to chain 2. And I wish you could actually see what was going on in here, because our SheShed is not the healthiest shed anymore, and it is leaking like a sieve today. It's pouring with rain, leaking like a sieve, and my husband, who is often my cameraman, is walking around wiping the ceiling and emptying buckets as I'm crocheting, and every now and then says, sorry about the dripping, sorry about the dripping. But we're all right, we're all right. So I've come around the corner now. I've done my chain 2. There's my first 2. There's my third. And by the time I get to the next corner, I will have 21 double crochets along this edge. So what I suggest you do, again, is pause the video, and then when you get right back to the beginning, stop there, and I'll catch you up there. I've come all the way along my 4th side now, and I'm about to do my final stitch on this side. These stitches will be slightly trickier to do because of the fact that you've slip stitched on the previous row, but fiddle about and actually get the hook under the top 2 loops and it will be fine. And now I'm going to slip stitch into the top of my chain 3 there, and I've decided that that's going to be a big enough square today. So at this point, I'm going to snip off my yarn and pull it through. Now, I haven't yet blocked, which is the process of flattening your square out. Even just by pushing it, you will find that it's already starting to sit down. Now, lots of people will talk about blocking using pins and boards and spray and all the rest of it. I don't go in for that malarkey. I use a damp cloth and a hot iron, and for goodness sake, make sure you don't forget the damp cloth, because if you do, you will ruin your work. But in fact, I was talking to someone only the other day who was saying that her grandfather, I think it was a tailor. And apparently all wool cloth, that is how he blocked it, was using a hot iron and a damp cloth. So now what I'm going to do is to finish off by actually stitching in my ends. So I've got my darning needle, and normally what we do is we go under and over a few times along one direction. There we go. And then under and over again. Another direction. There we go. And we'll go over the stitches we've been through before. So we're now going to go the opposite way through those stitches and pull it through. At that point, take your yarn needle out. I tend to pull it up tight so that your end will disappear in a moment. Snip it off. And now you can work it back, and you can't really see where that end is. And because it's actually been worked in as it has, it won't pull out. Now, where I added the extra yarn earlier, I actually wove that in as I went, so I can just snip those ends off. Actually, I didn't take quite enough off that one. Let's take more off that one. There we go. Lovely. And then the final one is the one in the centre. Most crochet kits come with some nice darning needles. So, or haberdashery shops, anywhere that sells yarn is likely to have decent darning needles. You need a reasonable size. You don't want to be here trying to poke your yarn through a very tiny eye of a needle. It's not going to work. So remember the under and over and under and over a number of stitches, and I tend to do that, as I say, 2 or 3 times, backwards and forwards. Obviously the more that you can actually weave in as you go, the better, because
as Gollum says, we hate weaving in the ends. The ends, we hate them. And we do. And that's my final one in. Let me just snip him off. Again, pull it up tight. Obviously don't snip your circle, but right. And now, oops, there we go. He's ready to be blocked and added to other squares to create whatever it is that you want to create. Remember, if you want to add more rounds, you can at this stage. It's entirely up to you.
Well, I hope you have enjoyed today's video. All of the information will be in the text box below, so there'll be lots of information about how to do this so you can follow it. If you have enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. Think about subscribing and ring that bell so that you'll know every time I've uploaded. As you can see behind me, it is absolutely pouring with rain here in Brittany today. Our SheShed, as I said, is leaking like a sieve. So I think for now, we're off to mend the roof. Until next time.